They are the number 3 rated team in America, the Oklahoma Sooners. Mark Rogers TV, as we continue to carve up every college football schedule among the Power 5 conferences in college football. And yes, Oklahoma at number 3. And that's not a big surprise. They are a blue blood of college football. But let's check back to about 4 weeks to the end of last season, 2013. Trashed by Baylor. Trashed by a Texas team that was not very good, finishing at 8-5 and getting blown out by any reasonable opponent on its schedule. Oklahoma didn't look like a great football team. Top 15, top 20, something in that range. But again, Baylor had distanced itself, or so it appeared. Then Oklahoma, outplayed for most of Bedlam, somehow pulled out a game against Oklahoma State to send it to the Sugar Bowl. And most people thought way over its head against the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Oklahoma showed up in New Orleans and made the Big Easy a Big Easy win, 45-31 over the Crimson Tide. Now suddenly Oklahoma is a chic pick to win the national championship, and it's well-founded. If they get the production at quarterback that they got from Trevor Knight on that night in January in New Orleans against Alabama, if he is that quarterback who just steps back in the pocket and slings it with confidence and with poise, then they've got something, because this team is loaded. Check out our video post with Matt Hofeld of Crimson and Cream Machine of the SB Nation platform, running down the personnel unit by unit of this Oklahoma football team. They are loaded. Let's look at the schedule now. This is not a preview of personnel. We did that. Again, check out the video post with Matt Hofeld of SB Nation. Louisiana Tech, Tulsa, and Tennessee. Those are the 3 non-conference games for the Sooners. Tennessee, a big-time matchup in name only. Tennessee still trying to get off the deck with Butch Jones recruiting some top talent the past 2 seasons, but in no way should Tennessee match Oklahoma, although that could be a difficult game. I mean, game by game by game by game over the course of a season, Tennessee cannot match Oklahoma, but in the window of 3 hours, anything goes. That game is in Norman. You would expect the Sooners to roll by about 20 points or so over Tennessee. The line play on both sides of the ball just not there for the Vols quite yet to compete with the best teams in the SEC or a team on the national scale like Oklahoma. Again, before that, it's Louisiana Tech and Tulsa, the Golden Hurricane, usually a top team in Conference USA, and now the American Athletic Conference, but Tulsa has been down in recent years and is expected, picked by the media and the coaches, to be down again this season in that particular conference. So Oklahoma should go 3-0 in the non-conference play. And of course, this team could go undefeated, period. Let's check out the more rugged contests and the big challenges in the Big 12. Oklahoma starts with West Virginia on the road, TCU on the road, Texas on the road. So they've got the 3 consecutive road games, although, of course, the Red River rivalry is a neutral site game in Dallas, Texas against the Longhorns. Surprisingly, again, Texas, despite getting blown out by the likes of Ole Miss and BYU and not looking good against Oklahoma State, they lost that game by 25 points. They took it to Oklahoma last season, so the Sooners will have payback on their minds when they take on Texas in the big showdown in the Big 12 on October 11th. They should be undefeated entering that game. Oklahoma has its 3 toughest, or what we would consider in August to be the 3 most difficult challenges, to be all in Norman. That's Kansas State on October 18th. Bill Snyder's team always makes noise in the Big 12 Conference, even when they're not supposed to and don't have the talent to match up with the likes of Texas and Oklahoma, and in recent years Baylor and Oklahoma State. But we know Kansas State, they will be tough. They will be disciplined. They will play technique, sound football. And that game, October 18th, in Norman against Kansas State, that one a very good football game, a high-scoring affair in Manhattan last season with Oklahoma winning. A couple weeks later, it's Baylor at Oklahoma, and the Sooners, like that Texas game against their arch rivals, against the new power in the Big 12, the Baylor Bears, Oklahoma got trashed in Waco last season. It wasn't so much the defense that looked so bad against that Baylor offense. It was the Baylor defense that put the clamps on Oklahoma, or was it the Oklahoma offense that looked so atrocious that they could do nothing in the passing game against the Baylor Bears? So, upset-minded Baylor taking on Oklahoma on November 8th, a Saturday in Norman. Then they've got the last game of the season against Oklahoma State, the big Bedlam showdown, this time in Norman. So again, what would appear to be the three toughest opponents in the Big 12 all come to OU. Kansas State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, they're spread out as well on the schedule. There's no really killer stretch here. The toughest might be early in the Big 12 season against TCU, Texas, and Kansas State. But then they've got a softie with Iowa State before they take on Baylor, Texas Tech. And then they've got a softie with Kansas before they finish the regular season against Oklahoma State. Of course, no Big 12 championship game. When we look at this schedule, what we like about the Big 12 again, and we've mentioned this in each post, is that everybody plays everybody. It's a legit conference championship. Despite no conference title game, it's a legit championship because everybody plays everybody. You don't have 5 opponents you don't see on the schedule that compete with you for a conference championship. This Oklahoma team, they could go 12-0. The worst they could possibly do. I cannot imagine Oklahoma goes any worse than 9-3 against this schedule. Maybe they trip up and go 11-1. That would be a safe pick as well. We're not making predictions here. We will do that leading up to opening day. For right now, we're looking at the schedule, and we see the tough games for Oklahoma at home. We see the Tennessee game could be interesting. Tennessee is really recruited in the secondary and at wide receiver, but they're figuring things out with Justin Worley at quarterback and a revamped offensive line and defensive front for the Vols as well, and the other 2 softies, non-conference Louisiana Tech and Tulsa. So Oklahoma could, again, legitimately, it wouldn't be a shock if they ran the table, went undefeated, and marched into the college football playoff as a top 4 team, of course. All right, Oklahoma fans, I know you're psyched for this season. Ever since that Sugar Bowl win, coming off Bedlam, you have been stoked for 2014. So let's talk about it right here on Mark Rogers TV.